one guy who finished the first half on an incredible note was Randy Arozarena, 9 home runs in 13 games. Just how important is he to what this Mariners team wants to accomplish in the second half?
He's critical. I think he's really been productive. You go back to the deadline last year. He's now been with the Mariners nearly a full season. It's nearly 150 games he's been a Mariner. And you look at his production, it's 30-plus doubles, it's 20-plus homers, it's 20-plus stolen bases at a position that traditionally has not been stable. Like, I think this would be a great segment. Next segment, you should spend 15 minutes where Curtis just names every left fielder in Mariners history. I think that'd be an amazing segment.
I think people would tune out quickly because it's a real who's that of Mariners history.
Darren Bragg, Lee Tinsley. Just go down the whole list. It'll be great. But he's really been so stable in the middle of the order in just terms of production. Now, I think a lot of the production early this season has been quiet. Like, he was getting on base a lot. He had a really good WRC plus. His production lately has been super loud. And if you can get that power production, that would be enormous moving forward. Because, I've thought about this a lot. When you move into the second half with Cal, assuming he's going to hit third most of the second half, whoever is hitting fourth is going to get a ton of opportunities. They're going to get a ton of chances with guys on base. So Randy's going to have a lot of chances to drive in runs and make a big impact. So you can't ask for, 9 home runs in 13 games stretches. Like, those are ridiculous. But he's going to have a chance to make a huge impact in the second half, and I think he's going to be really critical.
Gary, this might be a hard question to answer because there's no metrics or data on this. It's more just the mental game. You got 4 representatives in the All-Star game. You got Cal, who wins the home run derby. I mean, I remember getting accolades when I was coming up, and I just walked different, I talked different, I felt different. I try to bring that back to the squad. What do you think this weekend has done for those guys who did participate and what they bring back to the squad?
Oh, that's a good question. I think about Brian Wu in this circumstance specifically because this is his first time. I know it's Cal's first time too, but he has transcended to superstardom before our eyes in the past couple months. But I think about Wu specifically, who at times, just because of the nature of the rotation, has been not afterthoughts, probably not the right word, but you think about the star power in the rotation with Kirby and Gilbert, and he's really taken center stage this year. And I feel like the All-Star game from him in particular, and pitching really well in the All-Star game, be like, yeah, I'm not just a guy on the rotation, I'm a number one, pitching that kind of way. Because he's been great this year. He's actually been incredible the last couple of years. If you combine the last 2 years, he's top 10 ERA in baseball the last couple of years with Skeens and Skubal and everyone else. So he's been phenomenal. But to your question, I think about that. The next time he takes the mound. This is all-star Brian Wu. This is ace Brian Wu taking the mound.
Gary, this past week has just been a coronation of Cal Raleigh. Everywhere you look, it's been Cal. I mean, winning the Derby, and he's become a face of baseball, really. And how surprising, I guess, has it been to see this rise come as quickly as it has? Especially, you mentioned, being with the team since February, all throughout spring training. Was there ever anything that you maybe saw in Peoria before the season started that, I think Cal might actually have a bigger year than what he's been putting up?
It's funny. I remember having conversations early in the season saying, hey, I think Cal might be the best catcher in the game. And if you would have told me, hey, he's going to hit 40 home runs this year, I would have said, I think he can do it. I think that would be a really great year. I'm not sure what I would have said.
40 by the break?
You would have told me, yes, he would have been on the cusp of the All-Star break. Because the conversation has gone from, and to me, when I said, I think he might be the best catcher in the game, it felt like whoa, that's a big statement. But now, especially the last couple of weeks, what I've been diving into is trying to answer the question, did we just see the best first half a catcher has ever had? So, which is a completely different and ridiculous question on its face, because you think about all the Hall of Famers, the thousands of guys who have played catcher in the hundreds of years of baseball. And we're talking about Cal Raleigh having the best first half of all of them. But that's where this has gone. So is that a surprise? Like, yeah, because I don't think you'd expect that from anyone. And I think, I mean, to my original point, I think Cal was a really good player and I think an underrated player to start the season. But the fact he's done what he has done is just amazing. I was talking to Carlos Vargas right before the end of the first half, and I was just asking him, you know, he has a seat in the bullpen. He watches us every single day. He pitches to him. And I asked him to describe what he's seen from Cal, and he said, it's a movie. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what this is. And the home run derby just kind of was the cherry on top. You know, his brother and his dad, like the whole thing, it's all been a movie. It's been incredible.
Someone's going to write the script here in about 5 to 8 years about Cal and the dumper and all that good stuff. We had a conversation about this team having a sense of urgency, and we threw out what that meant to us. What does that mean to you, this team having a sense of urgency in the second half of the season?
Yeah, so consistency is the thing for me in the second half of the season, and it's about winning series. And sense of urgency, to me, it starts with the first 3 games against the Houston Astros. They're the team that the Mariners are chasing. They're the team, they're 5 games back, and now you have a crack at them one-on-one where you can take one game at a time with a win. And I think a little bit of a break for the Mariners, too, is Hunter Brown. They want to give him a few extra days, so the Mariners will not be facing Hunter Brown in the first 3 games of the series, which I think is pretty nice given the season that Hunter Brown has had. But when you talk about urgency, I think about the Houston Astros. And I think about the Mariners rotation. I know a lot of our conversation involves the offense for obvious reasons, but when I think about the Mariners punching their ticket to the postseason or winning a division or whatever they do in the second half, I feel like the rotation has got to be closer to what it was last year than what we've seen so far this year. Wu has been excellent. Castillo's been extremely consistent. They need Gilbert and Kirby, and we've seen flashes of it. They need them to be them. Gilbert needs to be Gilbert. Kirby needs to be Kirby. And then I think you can talk about having consistency in the second half because that's the backbone of the team, right? I mean, that's how this team was built. It was around pitching and around the rotation. So that's how I think about the second half.
Gary, we're now exactly 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. 14 days, and July 31st is going to be coming quickly here. The draft is in the rearview mirror. So just of all the names that are out there right now, which do you think would help the Mariners the most if they were to acquire him in a trade?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot, actually. You know, it's funny because when we were talking about trade deadline last year, I don't remember anyone talking about Randy Arozarena. So that's kind of in my mind, too, as we head down the deadline. I know there's a lot of names. You know, everyone talks about Gino for obvious reasons and Naylor for obvious reasons. Like, they would be great fits, clearly. But I wonder, is there a name or two that is just off the radar that's out there? And what I liked about Arozarena the most is not only did you get him for the deadline, but you got him for this year and you have him for next year, which is pretty great. Is there a fit like that moving forward? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but that would be pretty attractive. I think the thing about the deadline that I'm watching the closest, who is going to sell? And it looks like Baltimore is going to be a team that sells, and they have a couple interesting targets. Will Arizona be a team that sells? That will be a big one. What's Boston going to do? I know they've been rolling, but are they going to make a move or two with the guy in the outfield? I think that's the critical question. And it's a question now we've been asking the last few deadlines simply because of all the teams in the race and the new wild card and everything else. Like, who is actually going to sell at the deadline? Because if there aren't players available, it's really hard to make an impact on your team. So that's what I'm watching closely. And, you know, I know Gino is a name that gets thrown out a lot. Third base is a really tricky position. If you go and look at the contenders one by one, a lot of them have issues at third base. So he is going to be someone, if Arizona decides to sell, there's going to be a lot of competition for.
What do you think about second base? I mean, starting the season, Bliss wins the job, right? Waiting for Polanco to get healthy. He spent some time there, more of a DH this year. And you got Cole Young, who's been playing decent over there. Just how do you see that situation shaping up?
I think we've seen some good things from Cole Young. And I know the overall numbers don't jump off the page, but, you know, he was, what, 1 for 19 out of the gate, something like that. So it takes a while to recover from that. But he's been really interesting, especially the past, I don't know, that last road trip, maybe the last couple weeks. He's kind of been as advertised, a guy who will, you know, go to both gaps, a little bit of pop. You know, that home run in Detroit was pretty eye-opening. He really crushed it. You know, he's put some doubles in the gap. He's played a really good second base. So I find him to be pretty interesting moving forward, and someone that, you know, they need to add a bat or two, or trying to add a bat or two at the deadline. But I think he's someone that can play, and someone that, as you make a push towards the postseason, make a push in the postseason, I think he's a guy that can be your second baseman in that scenario.
Gary Julio with a tremendous series against the Tigers, and it comes, funny enough, after he announced he's going to sit out the All-Star game, and just the timing of all that was really funny. But you look at what he was able to do in that Tigers series. How excited are you for his second half, especially with some really nice performances under his belt?
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what this looks like. I think we're all hoping for the same thing. I think we all hope it unlocks something, and he's going to go on one of his Julio tears. What I was most encouraged by was the pull power in the air. You know, he had one home run to right that was sizzled, but he had a couple tanks to left field, and he pulled the ball in the air. And that's just not something we've seen a lot of this season. And he's got the kind of power, when he's doing that, he's going to hit a lot of home runs. You know, one of the big keys to Cal's season is he's just been marvelous at getting the ball in the air on the pull side. And that's easier said than done. And comparing anyone to Cal right now is not fair, because Cal's on a different planet. But that's what Cal's doing so well. That's why he's hitting home runs from the right side and left side, because he's constantly pulling the ball in the air. And so if Julio can do that a little more often, he's going to provide some pop. And I think it's pretty exciting when you see Cal. We've already talked about Randy and everything he's doing. If Julio can get hot, that's a pretty tricky middle of the order to work through for the opposition, because you got JP doing his thing, getting on base. That top of the order is pretty tough if Julio and Randy are rolling at the same time with Cal in between that. That is not fun to pitch to. And that's the way it was in Detroit, which was pretty remarkable. Just the runs they put up against the team that came in with the, third best team ERA in baseball into that series. And the Mariners in one series knocked them down to, I think, 10th last I checked, in one series, just because basically the middle of the order is just scorching.